Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please remember to hit that subscribe button. In this video, I'm going to show you how to embroider this onesie on a 4x4 machine. So the first thing you need to do is to hoop the stabilizer because we're going to be floating the onesie in order to embroider it. Some persons undo the side seams, then after embroidering they basically put it back together, but there's actually an option that you can embroider on onesies without having to undo the side seams, which is basically floating the onesie on top of the stabilizer. Now, the key to ensure that your design is nice and center is to use your grid to mark the center along the vertical and horizontal axes. You also need to ensure that your grid is placed the correct way, meaning that the ABC down to the bottom section of the grid is reading from left to right. After marking these points on your grid, the next thing you need to do is to ensure that they are visible enough so you can see them properly. If not, you need to do them once more or just brighten them a bit. Okay, so here is where a lot of persons would use spray adhesive, but I find using double-sided tape work very good for me. Whenever I use spray adhesive, I find that it causes my needle to break and also the threads, so I prefer to use double-sided tape for this part. So I'm just cutting bits of tapes to place in the four corners, and I ensure that I place them where the needle will not come in contact with it. So I'm just removing the backing sheet from the double-sided tape in order for the onesie to be able to stick to the stabilizer that is hooped, or to the hooped stabilizer. Now this is the onesie. I'm going to be turning it inside out in order to embroider on it. It's much easier to embroider on it this way when it's turned inside out. Now that it is inside out, I'm going to fold it in the middle, taking the two side seams and folding them toward the back, ensuring that the left side and the right side of the back are touching each other, so I'll have access to the front section of the onesie. Now I'll place the folded section along the dots that I would have marked using the grid. Next, you need to press down on the onesie, pressing it against the tape so that it can be secured, and you'll do the same thing for both sides. Now I'm loading the onesie onto the embroidery machine. In order to get access to the area that I'm going to be embroidering, I will need to do so through the leg section of the onesie. I find that it is much easier to do it this way instead of through the neck hole, which is a smaller access point. So the first thing I'm going to stitch out is the placement stitch for this applique at the top, and by doing this I'll be able to identify where to place the fabric. Now I'm placing the fabric on it, after which I'm going to be doing the tack down stitch. The tack down stitch is now complete, so the next thing I need to do is to trim away the excess fabric. It is important that you cut as close to the stitch as possible, because this will ensure that when you're doing your final stitch, which is the satin stitch, it will completely cover the edge of the fabric. So now I'm running the satin stitch. It is important to note that when you are doing these embroidery design that you need to pay close attention to it, because you can't afford to have the fabric being caught underneath the needle in areas that you don't want it to be. So you need to ensure that you pay close attention to it. Do not leave it unattended. If it is a case where you need to move away to attend to something else, it is best that you stop the machine, do what you're doing, and come back to it. The last thing you'd want is for your design to be completely ruined, especially when you're very close to the end. I'll just continue to do the color changes as I go along. When you're working with single needle machines, this is something that you will need to do, especially when you're working with multicolor design that requires several color threads. However, the machine will indicate to you whenever it's time to make those changes. This design I'm using, I purchased it online from designsbyjuju.com. They really have some very cute designs, so you can check them out. And they also have sales from time to time, so you can get very good deals. done, I need to remove the hoop from the machine and separate the hoop from the onesie, then trim off the excess thread and the excess stabilizer from the back of it. Now some persons use a tender touch on the back of this, especially when they're making it for small children, so there is no irritation from the embroidery threads. The tender touch do fall off from time to time, so eventually the child will come in contact with the embroidery thread. So if you don't have tender touch on hand, no need to feel left out, because you can actually work around this. Oftentimes by washing, you'll find that the fibers of the thread becomes softer and much more bearable for the child, or the child can basically wear a camisole or a tank underneath the shirt or onesie, depending on the climate as well. Remember to cut away the excess threads from the design, because from time to time you'll find that the thread will stretch from one area of the design to another in order to stitch out, depending on how the design was digitized. So there you have it, a onesie embroidered on a Brother 4x4 embroidery machine. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy watching it, and if you have not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you can be notified as soon as a new video has been uploaded. Also, if you have any questions or something you'd like to get some more information on, please leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. Bye!